Peter Schiff. He's chief economist at Euro Pacific Capital. He joins us now with his reaction to inflation. Peter Schiff, you hate to feel vindicated over something as horrible as inflation, which really is one of the worst things that can happen to a country. But you've been warning of this for, the years we've been talking to you.
Oh, sure, Tucker. And it did just happen overnight. Inflation has been a problem for a while. We just didn't care about it when it made stocks go up or real estate go up. But now that it's making food prices go up and energy prices go up and rents go up, it's a bigger problem. But, inflation is not created by COVID. It's not created by Putin. It's not created by greedy corporations gouging their customers. There's one source of inflation. The actual definition of inflation is an expansion of the money supply. And it's the Federal Reserve that's been expanding the money supply. They've called it quantitative easing, but they keep creating dollars. And it's the U.S. government that spends those dollars into circulation. And as it does that, the value of each dollar goes down. And so the price of everything that you buy with dollars goes up.
So if you're you grew up in this country, you grew up in what was a middle-class country, measurably. It was majority middle class. It no longer is, hasn't been for quite some time, and it's becoming completely lopsided. That seems like, and that's a recipe for volatility, okay? So that seems like one of the main effects of this Fed policy.
Well, the middle class is going to feel the inflation tax the hardest. Their wages are not going to go up nearly as much as the cost of living. There are other people who are retired who are on fixed incomes, and those incomes aren't going to go up at all. But the cost of living is. And, when we got these inflation numbers yesterday, and they're saying 7.9%, which is the worst inflation since 1982, what they don't tell you is that we had a different CPI in 1982. And if we use the same CPI today that we used then, we would be over 15% inflation, which means 2021 or 2022 right now, this is the worst inflation in our lifetime.
Good early afternoon, 12:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast in the United States of America. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. And we have some breaking news that we have to discuss. We have a vote that's coming. Some things are not. The proof of work ban is not included in the crypto bill heading to a Monday vote. So a lot of things you've seen that it got voted down, that is not true. It just was not added into the crypto bill. So there's still a vote. Lawmakers and environmental activists have been pushing for regulation on crypto mining since at least November of last year. Language that took aim at banning proof of work coins across the continent is notably absent. The bill states the crypto assets shall be subject to minimum environmental sustainability standards. Unstoppable Finance's head of growth tweeted. A finalized version of the bill, a major bill in the EU, which ignited controversy over its targeting of the crypto industry's proof of work consensus mechanism, is expected to head to a vote on Monday. The Markets in Crypto Asset (MiCA) draft legislation introduced in 2020 seeks to tighten regulation around digital assets by establishing a licensing regime on the continent and streamlining a uniform set of rules for member states. Those rules include transparency and disclosure requirements for the issuance of digital assets, the authorization and supervision of crypto asset service providers, consumer protection rules, and measures to prevent market abuse. The bill under paragraph 61(9)(c) also previously sought to establish a framework prohibiting crypto services from utilizing POW, proof of work, based cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ether. That section of legislation, which has since been updated, was expected to take effect sometime in 2025. So guys, this is what I've been talking about with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look in other places, because coming into 2025, when our ISO coins are going to be taking off, Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be really, really hurting. There's a lot of legislation that's already passed in the past. So you really need to pay attention to what is actually going on and not the FUD across YouTube, because most YouTubers They have no idea what is going on. I can 100% guarantee you that. And if you don't believe me, well, I honestly don't even care. Lawmakers and environmental activists have been pushing for regulation on crypto mining since at least November last year, citing that they viewed as energy-intensive crypto activity stemming from proof of work, following considerable public outcry and condemnation of the bill for potentially blunting financial innovation across the region. The rule was postponed indefinitely on February 28th. In view of the important debate about sustainability, my suggestion is to include crypto assets like all other financial products in the taxonomy area, tweeted Stefan Berger, member of the European Parliament from Germany on Tuesday. An independent discussion of the proof of work is no longer planned in MiCA. Berger is tasked with overseeing the bill and submitted the finalized piece of legislation last week. To pass legislation within the EU, the Parliament representing European citizens and the Council representing the governments of the 27 EU member states must reach an agreement on an identical text of a given bill. The process is often time-consuming and fraught with setbacks, given each member possesses roughly an equal say on matters affecting the region as a whole. Some observers remain weary, as the document still states that crypto assets shall be subject to minimal environmental sustainability standards. Patrick Henson, Unstoppable Finance's head of growth, pointed out in a tweet on Sunday. Bad news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the EU. The POW ban has basically made its way back into the draft of the European Parliament that will be voted on in the committee on Monday. I just read the latest draft, a quick update. Hansen argues that while the wording relating to POW has changed, the effect is essentially the same. So that's what I was saying. They still are putting it in there. They're just not saying proof of work is being regulated, but they're still putting the same regulations in with fancy writing like the governments often do. So don't get caught up in what's about to be the most historic liquidation you've ever seen coming up here in the days and weeks to come here. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. Existing cryptocurrency shall set up and maintain a phased rollout plan to ensure compliance with such requirements. Add this in with the ISO 20022 implementation beginning its full term effect in August 2022 into November, and then with a 1-year delay for some major bankings across different countries, they have until November of 2023. So with all this put together, you're going to see what's going to happen, and it's going to be spectacular. The defeat Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to reach, or are going to suffer. The Bitcoin network is highly decentralized, governed by a social consensus formed by a plurality of around 15,000 full node operators and miners. Altering the proof of work consensus mechanism, while theoretically possible, is extremely unlikely. Proof of work, as described in the Bitcoin white paper, is regarded in the Bitcoin community as a quintessential feature responsible for the security of transactions on the network. An alternative without it would like several contentious hard forks of the past, simply not be considered Bitcoin. The moderately more crypto-friendly language in the current version of MiCA, likely to pass out of the committee vote, is a marked improvement over the original text, which Hansen previously described as a suicidal proposition. It would kill the entire European crypto industry, the one sector that fully aligns with the European values and where the EU could actually be competitive. In defense of proof-of-work mining from an environmental sustainability perspective, CoinShares CEO Jean-Marie Magnetti points to internal research which concludes that the potential for miners to reduce the carbon footprint of flared and vented natural gas is enough to completely offset all emissions or even have a positive net emissions impact. Magnetti says implementing a mining ban in Europe would be detrimental to the bloc's environmental goals. They should do their utmost to incentivize miners to set up operations in West jurisdictions, especially in Western Europe, and that was December 23rd. The worst thing Western governments, I don't even know when the hell that was, because the next one says, that was, what was that? March 12, 2023. I don't even know. March 12, 2022. I don't know why it says that, but his most recent one says March 13, 2022. The worst thing Western governments can do with regards to limiting carbon emissions from Bitcoin mining is to force them out of their jurisdictions. MiCA now heads the vote with the Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs, Econ, before it can be considered in a trilogue meeting, Berger noted, referring to the tripartite meetings between representatives of the EU Parliament, Council, and European Commission, the EU's executive branch. With MiCA, the EU can set global standards, Berger said. Strong support for MiCA is a strong signal from the EU Parliament for a technology-neutral and innovation-friendly financial sector. The committee voted to advance the MiCA without the explicit language on proof of work. So this advanced by vote. Without the explicit language on proof of work mining of crypto assets, clearing the way for the draft to be negotiated in triage meeting, according to Patrick Henson in Blockchain Europe, an industry interest group based in Brussels. So just remember what we said. They reworded it so that it could pass through, and now we have some problems. But now we have to get to the chart. So the DXY is down 0.43% to 98.70. That's the US dollar currency index. I'm going to go over the commodities and such before we get down to crypto. This is what we had written out. It broke through there. And we said the top potential here would be to get up to about $100.50 if we could get up there. Looks like we're being pulled back pretty hard right now. We'll see if we can get up there. But so far it's went spectacular to what we thought. PBR is breaking down as we were talking about, and that's why I had sold up. But there's going to be a spot where it hits a bottom here. So we're right around the support area at 13.57. If it breaks this, we go to 12.86. So it's a very critical spot here, whether we hit that as resistance or support. Crude oil came back under $100, and I told you these things tend to retrace very hard to the breakout points. And I'm not saying it's going to get back to $76, but what I am saying is 84. With these hard corrections could be on the table, or you have a pull down here at about $88 that it could catch. So there's a lot of spots that could be impacted with PBR. You got the 10-year that's up 6.11% to 2.11. I mean, it's going absolutely crazy. And you can see that this could very well have started a decided uptrend here if it can break out of this cup and handle. It broke out. It's come up. Now it's consolidating. Now it's trying to complete off this top part. And if it ends up bouncing up here, this thing could be off the friggin' races here. We've talked about this a lot. This has been a multi-year bear market for the US 10-year. So when the government bonds start raising like that, look out. Gold is doing its massive retrace like we talked about when it hit all-time highs. We talked about how it was going to come back to 19. Here, I'm going to delete all of this so we can show you the updated drawing. So we talked about how when it hit the top, that gold, silver, commodities alike like to have a very, very, very heavy retrace. And it came up here 100%. It came up and it completed a 2-year cup and handle. And now it's doing the consolidation of the handle. Well, what we need to see is how far this drops. I had a personal target. So if you look at this, you can see exactly why my target was where it was at. If you start to come across like this. And we can actually come farther because when gold was on the bottom side of this, it was very bearish. So when you get to the bottom side of this, you start to break down a little bit. So I like to kind of do it like that in the daily. But if we go to the 4-hour time frame, we can actually make it look a little bit smaller. But it's so hard to get this uptrend with gold. You know, from a standpoint like this, we could do this. And it shows you how it could have to retrace. But you can also, which is why I want to go into the daily, I don't want to go from way back there because we can obviously see we're on a decided uptrend here. You can see it. Even if we go from like this, we're on a decided uptrend and we could even come into the consolidation like this. And it could meet up and it could be something like this where the uptrend is trying to force itself into an area like this. But what that means, if this is what's going on, is we're going to force ourselves down a little bit here because watch what happens here. It's much like XRP. Remember when we had the breakout yesterday and we showed we got above a certain area, we cracked out. I mean, we broke out of this area, guys. There's no doubt about it with gold and silver. We've broken out. And if you look at it logically, this is a logical rendition of what was going on here. Right? So, now we cut off. We broke out right here. We broke out in here. And now we're retesting. If we can play out this and break up, we're going, because this was an all-time highs we set. We came back up and retested. We topped it. And now we have to decide what we're going to do. If we can stay in here and modify us. But that leaves a lot of room, though, guys. Like, there's a lot of room for us to correct. That's the thing. Like, with gold and silver, we correct a lot. And right now, what you need to pay attention to is this uptrend in the short term with that W reversal. If this uptrend breaks at any time, it's going to be trouble and we might come all the way down. And the uptrend has to break through here as such. So it would have to break out and continue like that on gold. So we're coming to the uptrend line. It's coming very close here right now. So if we break that, you could see a huge retrace. And that's what they tend to do. And It's nothing I wasn't expecting this uptrend to yield a little bit. And it's exactly why I told you that I had wholesale sold my commodities, except for Commerce Resource, which is the only one unaffected so far because it was on a opposite pattern. And that's what I was trying to describe to everybody. And then you could say maybe in the short term, could we say we maybe, could we say we might have started a channel? And it's a small channel at that, but could we say we started a channel like this with gold? I think so. But it also means that there's a lot of heaviness here where we might have to come down and retrace, and it's not going to be pretty. So I think we could be in this up channel now with gold. And I'll highlight it. I think that's what could be starting here with gold. That could be your up channel. And now we're going to start trading between this. And it's going to be a rising wedge, which will be bearish at the top. But if it can be a rising wedge up to about 2,500 and come down and retest some of these areas, then, you know, you could get something like that ends up breaking out of here. And you end up in a rising wedge up to 2,500. And then it retraces all the way to that 2075 area where it broke out. So that's what we're looking at with gold. We'll do a bigger breakdown later on. Silver's looking about the same. Silver's on a bull flag though, so silver's definitely looking interesting. And I wanted to do this so I could update you guys. And this is going to be a very long update. And if you don't like that, well, this is probably not the update for you. But don't come asking me in the Telegram or in the comment section what's going on if you're not willing to watch my updates. Because I can tell. Because if you ask me a question that I know I answered here, well, that is not my problem. I don't even know if I like doing it like this, but this is definitely a line of support that with silver, it was refusing to break. So if we just play this out, we're obviously going to be in a decided trend to this downside here if we don't break out here. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. If we can't break out of this, we have to come back down to the bottom of the pattern. There is nothing wrong with that. I've been telling you guys ever since it broke out how to play this. So now if we have to have a 15% retrace, so be it. That's just what happens. And I'm going to load up on my physical silvers, my bullion. But this is a decided bull flag that could absolutely play out like that. We've got an uptrend here as well that is a very notable uptrend from way down here. But does it collapse on top of the pressure? That's the thing. Like, will this collapse? So either way, this has to retrace, in my opinion. Unless it breaks out and gets top side of the symmetrical, this still has a long ways to go in this pattern. I'm not saying it has to go as far out as I spread it, but I just spread it out because this is a big pattern. And it'll likely, if we had to be honest, it had a breakout. If we were being real honest with ourselves, you could do something like this even with silver and be like, okay, this is truly what happened here. We dealt with the breakout. We came outside the bull flag. It faked a few people out. We had a nice run up. But really, what are we looking at? Something like that. And if it breaks back down to the bottom side, we just might have to come to support. Conversely, if silver bounces in this area right here and were to hold that $24 area, you could ride up this and use that as your support area. So we're not looking terrible. So pay attention to what I do, and I would take a picture of that. And as I said, all of gold and silver I was liquidated on except for Commerce Resource, and that's the only thing that's gone up in the past few days. Everything else is getting shredded. I have put options on fuel cell that are up 38 to 42% today. As you guys know, it was down about 25% on Friday. So my $600 and something was down to 500 and something. But now it's up to, I'm up actually it's up to like 40 something percent. I'm up to $1,048 now. So, and I have a $2 put option for the end of July on fuel cell. And I'm already up now several $100s on those options. So it's just a play that I've made, and I kept adding as it went up. And I have an average price of $10.75 on the options. It's up to about $13.50 right now. And I have, 77 or 80 of them now. I can't remember if it's 77 or 80. And I'm anticipating a breach of all of this by the end of July. And that we'll be looking at a $2 fuel cell sometime in the near future. Because I believe this is a busted head and shoulders here. Last second attempt to make a consolidation, and it came down to the actual area down here, which is perfect. And now I think it's ready to roll over on itself, and it started to show, rear its ugly head here. Not only in the daily does it show up, but the 4-hour time frame really speaks. And if you break it down to the 1 hour, You can see how it's trying to round down, and if it breaks this $5.92, look out. I'm not saying it can't go up more. What I'm saying is the daily time frame is way over. It's too much buying pressure. And with the way the earnings came out, it had a little bit of a surprise in revenue, but it's standardized. It's actual earnings, not good. They were estimating a -0.05. They came in at -0.11, which is a minus 120%. That is not good. So now we get into Bitcoin. We got Bitcoin at 38,920, and the biggest thing we talked about earlier is this. We pop back up into the uptrend, but if we don't break out past this area, we're just going to be stuck in here. And if we can't prove this as support and we just pull back under this, we're going to come down today to 37,100 area, that blue line that I drew out. That's the support area if you break outside of this uptrend. But I caution you with the fact that if you break this entirety of this, the integrity, not only would you have this as a spot where you could potentially draw this out and it would play all the way through, and then you have several areas that you could play this into. And let me make this smaller. But at several areas you could make this the case that we've got areas if we break through. So if we break through that support right here, we have a big issue, because then we come down to a lower support structure. And that's not it. If you break this, you even have another section that could start a different style uptrend that you can see right here. So there's other things that are going on here. Like we could have started an uptrend here, a very porous uptrend, that would lead you back down to 35,000 area. So there's a lot of things that we could be doing, and nothing really shows that Bitcoin is coming up. And I hate to say that for anybody who is very bullish on the market, but I'm not seeing much that says, hey, we're going up here. In fact, I see, even if we are going up, we're in a tight little corner here that's probably just going to release us all the way down, you know, as we do these stepping stones, and right, and we'll work our way down. So I'm not very bullish on crypto right now. I'm not bullish on XRP unless we can maintain the integrity and come back over this and prove a fake out and start bouncing on the top of this so we can move our way up to the 91 cent. But if we can't get topside here, we have no chance. And what this is going to do is prove a fake bull flag and pull us way down. And nobody wants to be a part of this, because here's what ends up happening, and this is the cold hard truth. You've got a very nice dip support here, and that's at 56 cents. So that would be your first logical breakdown point in a much larger pattern that, if you pull out from right here, could in fact pull right through and lead you, and it would lead you right into this area. So that's why it's so important what's going on right now. So important with XRP. Like, I can't even stress it enough. We're at such a critical spot, because if we break down and we come down into that lower support area, it is a huge problem. Also, there's another, you know, scenario where XRP is starting a downtrend here, and I can go all the way back here and put a line across and show you exactly what I mean. Like, that's a down channel from even right there. So what this is telling you is, if this cuts off here, we're in some trouble here, because now you can say you've got resistance here, right? Support, resistance, support, right on this 56 cents again, or 54.8, but all the way down to this area right here. Come up to resistance again. This downtrend line comes into play, comes through on an uptrend that we said it could be establishing, that could fool people, because this is just a consolidation area as well for this bigger symmetrical. If you actually look at it, it's a much bigger consolidation area. And we can bring this and delete this, because I know it's confusing, but I wanted to show you it like that when I first started to describe it. We can pull this back and show the exact same thing we're trying to show. It's just that this would have to pull back more. Actually, you know what? No. Because it would show that we broke out a little bit too high. So it actually would still stand here. So we could do something like that even to show, if it breaks through this area, we've got to come back down and consolidate lower. And I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem great, because if you go way back here even, and you say, okay, XRP's been on a downtrend from way back here, I mean, you can almost see, if we go like this even and say that that was too big of a breakout, you can come in many different areas here. The point is you can see that we broke out. Even if you come to a trend like that, you could say this was the actual trend because we did this. You know, there's a lot of different ways to manipulate XRP. Come right there and say, okay, we've got a nice structure here, and that's what's going on. I mean, everything says if we, that X right there, this is the most critical spot for XRP right now, is this 74834. And if we break that, we're likely coming way down. And the pattern suggesting that within XRP. So pay attention to what I'm saying. I'll come back later and do an XLM and DGB. Actually, you know what? Screw that. I'm doing it right now. So, like I always say when you're watching somebody, the best thing that they can do for you is redraw everything on the fly so that you can see exactly where you're at. And remember, guys, I'm not a financial advisor, so should you take my advice? Absolutely not. But what you should do is pay attention to the charts, because I'm doing it in a way that everybody should be able to understand. XLM is in a decided downtrend. I mean, this is, it's too obvious that XLM is just in a huge downtrend. And there's not much we can do about it until the downtrend breaks. You can come all the way back here, and it's held the integrity of this downtrend for a very long time. And you can even come all the way back here, because I'm not even going to do all the stuff like with the other ones, because this is in a decided down channel. And I'm not sugarcoating it. I can see it, so I'm not sugarcoating it for you guys, because there's no reason to get trapped. No reason to get, you know, stuck in all this nonsense. Because this is an absolute decided downtrend, and it's breaking into an area like this. And if you break it down into the current formation, it doesn't even look any better. So I suggest you trade it like this with XLM, because we broke the integrity so many times of this pattern that we now have to acknowledge that we are in a decided uptrend, and we probably have a max potential here of 19.2, even if it started coming up in this area. And this is going to lead us to the pits of hell, guys, for XLM. This is how... And this, I believe this downtrend is how we get down to this 10.9, and it's going to be in a way similar to this. I believe this is how we're going to end up meeting, and it's actually tighter. It's something like that. So, we're trapped, guys. We are trapped with XLM. We are absolutely trapped. Unless this were to somehow break, we're trapped. XLM's trying to break out of this. If it doesn't, and this uptrend, this tiny uptrend breaks, it's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad, because in the shorter term, it's not even as slow of a downtrend. This downtrend is fast now. It's a fast downtrend. And it's going to lead us down here really quickly. If we just go based on this, we're going to have some kind of decision to make, something like this as well. There's so many areas that lead us down, and it's going to put us into the pits of hell. So pay attention to this, because if you don't, you're going to lose a lot of your portfolio in the very short term. And why am I deleting all of this and showing you? Because I believe if you're the best in the business, you should be able to take out everything and just draw it back, because your mind already sees it as it's set up. I already see the pattern before it breaks. And some people say, oh, well, it's not the perfect downtrend. Isn't it? You can see every single point where if it were to break out, we could have some kind of move. And you're seeing it with XL or DGB right now. It's trying to fight itself and try to prove that it could maybe push up a little bit, but it's just not going to happen, because we're kind of on the downside of it right now. If we actually hit points of contact, we can use 2 right here even and look like this, because that is exactly how it's playing out with DGB. And this, guys, again, when you have downtrends that are going this long, that means there's no buyers, no institutional buyers. You can say whatever you want. If there's institutional buyers, a downtrend is not going for this long. And you can actually start to break it out on most of the charts if you look at it in this perspective. These are very bearish patterns until they reverse at the bottom. And unfortunately, these aren't showing very many signs of reversing. And in fact, we're getting towards the top of these down channels now, which means that the next push is going to end up being a huge rally to the downside. Because these are literally coming up to their oh shit moments. Like real oh shit moments. And I'm trying to make this perfect with DGB because we had a little point. That's what it needs to look like. Just like that. That's how tight it is. Right there. That is the perfect setup right here. This is how it needs to be. Just like this with DGB. There you go. And you can see we're coming into a section where if we drop off of here by DGB, and like I said, I put them in every single one of them. We got these little decided uptrends that started out of nowhere. You know, but these often break down. And when they do, these are just little retests of old support as resistance. And look what happens. We're boxing ourselves in with DGB. And if it doesn't break out now, in the next few hours, we're going to end up making a targeted move. And you're talking your next move could be better than some 20, 25, 30% on DGB because it's going to come all the way back down. And just like with the rest, you're going to find yourself boxed out and you're going to be right down here before you can even blink. XRP Future Millionaire, make sure to hit that like button. Turn that bell notification to all. And if you want to see more stuff like this, join Tom's Army, $9.99 a month. I don't thick around. I don't mess around. I'm straight to the point, all business. Join the Telegram of more than 260 minds. We have 262 people in here. That's 262 people giving out free advice, free information, and we have a bunch of people putting out their own charts. We know a lot of things that are going on. So we're so far ahead. And it would be in your best interest to join Tom's Army. Get my private Telegram. It allows you to get the classes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. They're $5. I used to do it donation based, but I feel more comfortable just saying $5. It's a $5 flat fee. Stay blessed, everybody. Hashtag be better, do better. Hashtag fight assassins. And remember, help one person each and every day, because if I don't do my part and you don't do your part, who the hell is going to do their part? And who's going to make sure that the world is built on ethics and not I have the mindset, right, that you're entitled. So integrity over entitlement makes a better future for our kids. So I want to thank UB2B so I can end out like this. Get an education. He's my meme genius. I see you're desperate to repeat the grade. Whack. So your head's on your neck. I thought it was attached to your ass. Join Tom's Army. UB2B. This guy's a freaking meme genius. Let's see what else. I think I got everything though. Oh, what's this? No fear, no uncertainty, no doubt, only strength. FUD Assassins FX. UB2B. Stay blessed, everybody.